Ideea de bază a acestei ediții de podcast este că ROLDA România vă pregătește o surpriză dedicată tuturor iubitorilor de animale din întreaga lume, deci nu doar din România. Este vorba despre un podcast în limba engleză. Un podcast în limba engleză, podcast al cărui casă va fi practic în Statele Unite ale Americii și podcast care va fi realizat de către un american pe numele său Alexander Clayton, Alexander care este practic față în față cu mine în acest moment. Salutare tuturor, sunt Radu, începe așadar o nouă ediție a podcastului În jurul cozii, podcast oferit de către ROLDA România. Vă sfătuiesc, în cazul în care engleza nu este punctul vostru forte, să activați pe YouTube butonul de subtitrări, alegeți acolo limba română, chiar am verificat astăzi, subtitrările în limba română atunci când asculți ceva în limba engleză sunt excelente. So, Alexander, hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the podcast. Actually, it was your idea, so thank you for that too. And to start with a joke, I told you before, so help me God, I haven't spoke English verbally in quite some years. I'm not talking about writing an email, so I hope the audience will understand me, and of course I hope you will understand me. But hello, and thank you again for being here.
Of course. Thank you, Radu, for having me. I'm happy to be here and happy to help out.
Alexander, I'm not going to start with a classical question, where do you live in the US, what's your age, but I would like to know, I'm just curious, if you have ever been before to Romania.
I have not. I've not been to Romania. I have not had the pleasure, but I am aware of Romania. I know you guys have some wonderful cultural history, heritage, and like some beautiful land like the Danube Delta and the Carpathian Mountains. Would love to visit sometime, especially now that I'm associated with ROLDA.
So you actually do know quite some things, because my next question was, in the past, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months ago, if someone would tell you the word Romania or Romanians, what are you thinking of? Or do you have to change the question now a little bit, because you've already answered? When you hear Romania, do you have, I don't know, something that always pops up in your head?
I I do. It's quite American of me. But my mind goes to Brahms' Castle. That's most associated with Dracula in Transylvania. That is the first thing that comes to my mind.
That's true. I have a big news for you, Alexander. Geographically speaking, I am actually situated. I live in Transylvania, not the city where.
Really?
Not the city where ROLDA has his center, but I live in a part of Transylvania. But I haven't seen any
that's wonderful.
I haven't seen any vampires, so don't worry. There's nothing to be afraid.
Oh, good. I don't need to bring any steaks when I come to visit.
No garlic, no, exactly. Alexander, what can you tell the Romanian audience about yourself, and what's your relationship with animals?
Well, I would like to tell the Romanian people. So my background is in environmental anthropology, the intersection of humans and nature. And naturally, animal welfare is very much at the crux of that intersection. It's always been very important to me. If I can be a little philosophical, I believe it is the role of intelligent life in this universe to hit a stage where we are stewards of life. We are helping to bring life and help it grow in this universe. I think that is spiritually what we are meant to do. So, and that includes not just getting along with our fellow human neighbors, but everyone who's non-human, treating them with dignity and respect as they should be, because we are not the only species. And to a lot of human behavior towards other animals can be quite upsetting. And it's my hope that in my profession, I can help alleviate some of that.
Yes, your answer is very beautiful, a bit philosophical indeed, but Romanians consider themselves to be quite philosophical. So, from this point of view, we understand you. And can you please tell me if, in your opinion, I mean, in Romania, we feel this way. I don't know how you feel this thing in the US, but do you feel that the balance between humans and nature has been lost?
I think it has been forgotten since the Industrial Revolution, but I think we're rediscovering it. Speaking anthropologically, many cultures, particularly indigenous across the world, without ever meeting, have all come to the conclusion that we are a part of nature, and we need to live in harmony with that. And we've forgot that for a good couple hundred years, but I think we're waking back up to that, and I'm quite hopeful about the future.
You talked about the Industrial Revolution. Do you think, from this point of view, of the balance between humans and nature, should we be worried about the revolution that we are living these days? And I'm talking about the AI revolution.
I think it's important that we have safeguards, but I think there is a lot of fear mongering going on around the topic of AI, mostly because AI is a very complicated topic. It's a very complicated subject, and it requires a certain amount of education to understand what actually goes into creating AI. I've worked with AI in the past as part of my profession. I'm honestly quite hopeful. I think it's going to be a wonderful revolution. It's going to help humanity in great ways, but like all tools and systems, it can be abused, and there will be people who want to abuse it. It's therefore important for people who are upstanding and ethical to stand up and make sure that we do it right. Get it right the first time.
Some people are afraid that, I mean, they see the world in 100 years from now, uh, all the people being inside the houses and staying on our AI devices, virtual reality, and so on. How do you see? Have you ever thought how the world will be in 100 years, and if the nature will play a big part or a small part in our lives?
Well, that comes to there's a dichotomy in people's thought around the world. You're either in the camp of we're going to blow ourselves up or something is going to happen and that's it. Or the camp I personally prefer, more positive thinking, we're going to get our stuff together. We're going to figure it all out, and I genuinely think we're going to be okay. I'm actually quite excited. The millennial generation around the globe is coming into power in these next few years, like truly into power. And no matter what country you're in, just from a generational perspective, many younger people and generations believe in our connection with nature, want that, and understand respecting other species and animals. I think we're going to be okay. I'm quite excited. I think we're going to have a very beautiful future.
Yeah, I'm really happy that your answer is so optimistic, and I agree with you. I don't know if everybody thinks of this, of if everybody feels this way sometime. But for example, actually, the other days, I was thinking at a time a few years ago when I was lighting a fire in nature, a controlled fire, of course.
Hmm.
And it's that instinct to stay in nature. It's night to light a fire, and I don't know, look at the stars and just think of life. I think we have this instinct inside of us because uh, humans have lived in nature definitely more time than we are living in our houses and on our
Of course.
sophisticated devices. Yes.
No, we are a part of nature. It's not humans and nature. It's all nature. We are nature. And when we get back to that, that is like, I'm always at my happiest when I'm out in nature or traveling and seeing wonderful places. Because yes, that's a core part of our biology, our genetic makeup, our evolution. We've come from nature, and with the Industrial Revolution and societies going towards cities, there was the fear of nature, survival. But we're smart enough now, we can handle ourselves, and now we can go back into nature with I think, a more open and beautiful heart towards it. But nature is integral to our happiness, our well-being. I could have a miserable day, but if I walk outside and I see the beautiful trees and just the breeze blowing and watching them sway, suddenly I have a smile on my face. I feel uplifted again. Nature is good for the soul.
Yeah, nature is good for the soul, definitely. I'm an astronomy lover since I was a kid, and I am really curious. How do you see a human being evolving in this way? But this is definitely another question for the topic that we are having in this podcast edition. Uh, yes, but unfortunately, Alexander, lately the world has some problems. I mean, reports around the world are saying
This is
that in
true.
2023, because of the pandemic effects, the war in Europe that actually is really near here in Romania, in the city where I live, in the county where I live, we actually have a border with Ukraine. And because of the growth of the inflation, millions of animals were abandoned around the world. And USA is also a country on the list of these countries. And I want to ask you: have you felt this or seen this in America?
I have. It's heartbreaking. Speaking about the pandemic, there was an influx of people and families going, "We're home now. We're with our kids. Let's get an animal. Let's have a pet." I'm not a big fan of the word pet. I like in the French language they don't even have a word for pet. They call animal de compagnie, which is animal companion. I love that much more. But so many families and individuals then brought in their furry friends into their lives, and then once life started up again, they realized they couldn't take care of them, and then there was just so many abandoned or ending up in shelters, and shelters became overrun, and then they were being put down. It's there's if I can be really human, my first reaction to that is anger and consternation at the lack of foresight, but also just a profound sadness at these creatures, because we are the dominant species. They are at our whim a lot of the time. We have to be better than that. We have to be better than that. What does it say about us? Sometimes, if I can be a little cynical, sometimes I think that the rest of nature probably views humans as something akin to demons.
Hmm.
We need to change. And I know we can. There are so many organizations and so many individuals out there who care and are doing good work, like ROLDA, but we still got a ways to go.
Do you think that what happened from this point of view in the pandemic proves that we as humans don't relate correctly to animals? I mean that it was the pandemic, well, we had to stay in our homes, we felt lonely, uh, we were together in the house with the family, but maybe you're around your family, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years, and we decided, let's get a dog, let's get a cat. But the reasons, if you look at them a little bit better, the reasons were rather egocentric, to say like this. I mean, you
Yes.
you didn't really thought about the animal.
No, you thought of it as an accessory, like how can this improve my life rather than how can
Exactly.
I help this life or complement each other's lives. That actually touches on a big core mission as an environmental anthropologist, and there's the concept of anthropocentrism, which is humans first. Rather than thinking of nature and the world as all as an ecosystem and circular, that we're a part of it. It's the idea that there's a hierarchy with us on top and everything is to our whim and our resources, and I am highly against that. That is a lifelong mission of combating anthropocentrism, and that is what that is, thinking not thinking about other lives, not considering this other life that is different from our own. That's how you get things like whale hunting and dolphin hunting, and you find abandoned animals, or sometimes humans will do that to their own babies. They'll think, hey, let's have a baby, and it's an accessory to your own life. We do this to our own species. It's a travesty. And it is very sad, profoundly sad.
Yeah. Yes, and let's just not give the example where humans decide we want to have a baby, but let's get a dog first to see how it is going to be. Like the two things match each other, And how much do you think that in this equation, education, how important is education? But I'm not talking about you as a human being to be a guy who went to school. I'm talking about education about dogs. I mean, meaning knowing what a dog needs, what that specific race of dog needs. I was actually talking a few editions ago with a guest, and we are talking about the fact that somebody had a dog that really needed to go to the vet, but the owner didn't realize that, and the dog definitely can go alone to the vet. The dog needs to have an educated owner from this point of view.
I agree with that. Personally, I think I've been very lucky in my education of life because my parents got animals for me when I was growing up. So I grew up with 2 dogs and 3 cats, but to me, they weren't pets. They were furry siblings. They were family. And so I genuinely thought of them as siblings growing up as a child. So I would pay attention to their body language, how they would move, why they would do certain things. And when you give something other than yourself that level of observation and attention, you can learn so much so quickly. It just takes a little bit of consideration and time. And so I think I'm very lucky there. Not everybody has that. There are many who do, and there are many who don't. And it's important that we educate them to realize that and think about it in those terms, because they do have their own needs, but they also have their own personalities. I'm a big proponent of animal personhood rights because they're people too. They have an emotional range. They can feel sadness. They can feel anger. They can feel irritation. They can feel joy. Doesn't everything deserve the pursuit of happiness? I know that's a little bit of an American idea, but I think that's something many share.
Yes, of course.
Because
of course.
it's fundamental. We should. Yeah. Oh.
It is.
But
it is.
It's a struggle.
It really is. Alexander, so the podcast is coming. I want to ask you what's the name of the podcast and what should we expect?
So we currently have a placeholder for the title, but I've been liking it more and more. I think we might settle on it. It is currently Pause and Reflect, PAWS. It's a nice little fun pun there. And it's centered around animal welfare as a whole, as well as the intersection of environmental sustainability, because that's so important as well. And I want to cover, ideally, a wide range of topics, from animal care based on different animals, whether that's dogs, cats, horses, foxes, sanctuaries, speaking with organizations like I plan to reach out to like the World Wildlife Fund, the International Humane Society, and so on, and just get all these different perspectives from these organizations and experts about proper animal care, animal personhood rights. What does it mean to also be an animal in ourselves? We are animals, examining that lens. It's just a wide range of what it means to be human, the human animal amongst other animals, and how we can maybe be better about it.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Humans as animals, I think we are a bit wild lately.
It's true. it's with being so interconnected globally, with technology and communication, and now so many around the world having phones and being able to communicate, and the language barrier, thanks to things like Google Translate, slowly breaking down. We can understand each other better, which is part of why I'm hopeful. Many people are being exposed to new ideas every day and going, yeah, that is a good idea. We should treat these other species better. Or, yes, nature's great. I'm on board with that. So, it's growing pains. We suddenly now we can communicate with each other and we have differing ideas. So it's a bit chaotic these days. But optimistic ever optimistic about it.
Definitely, I agree with you. When do you estimate that the podcast will be launched?
I'm hoping, ideally, that it will be launching in May. I hope to promote it on social media before that, get anticipated interest into it. But if all goes well and according to plan, which not everything always does, but we can hope, hopefully in May.
Let's come back a bit to this notion of abandoning an animal. What do you feel when you hear that somebody is abandoning an animal? I don't know how things are in the US, but in Romania, we hear this quite often.
It happens here too. It happens everywhere. Because unfortunately, anthropocentrism is a global epidemic view. It's what I consider a multivariate problem to so much of why things are wrong, because we have this self-centered viewpoint. And when I hear that an animal has been abandoned, I have a moment of a flash of primal rage, indignation, and just outrage, followed immediately by a profound sense of sadness, because they don't ask for they don't ask to be taken into a home. They don't ask to be abandoned later. They're just trying to survive like we are. And unfortunately, because we are the dominant species, they don't have much ground to stand on. And with things like logging and deforestation, they're losing more and more ground to stand. It's heartbreaking. Truly heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's definitely the word to call it. Alexander, basically, in my podcast, and I'm sure in your podcast also, people are hearing and will be hearing words. Do you believe in the power of words? Can words change mentalities? Of course, that there is the word, and in order to a word to become truly valuable, it needs to be followed by actions. But do you think that words can change mentalities, and eventually can words change the world of animals?
Words are everything. Words have so much power. I mean, just from a language perspective, it's how we communicate thought, concepts, ideas, and the power of an idea is one of the most powerful forces in this universe. I've always loved the art of storytelling. I grew up reading Joseph Campbell, who is one of these great writers and philosophers on storytelling and the art of it. The right words and the right string of words to form the right sentence can change nations. It just takes the right words. It takes the right levels of empathy and consideration. But absolutely. And that's what we hope to do with our podcast, is it not? To use the power of words and stories to change minds. And I fully believe we have that power.
Let's hope so. And I want to ask you, how do you think that you can determine someone to pass from just words to actions? Because, for example, here in Romania, if you will go right now on the street, I mean, not now because it's quite night, but during the day, and ask 100 people, do you love dogs? Do you love animals? Everybody will say yes. But when we are talking about actions, maybe 10 or even less will do something. And for example, we have a very often situation that happens here. People pass every day around abandoned animals. They see that the dog or the cat doesn't look good, doesn't look right, but they just pass. They don't do anything, and you don't have necessarily to do big things. I mean, you don't necessarily have to take the dog at your place, at your home. You can just give a phone call. You can take a picture and put it on social media, because there are lots of pages with people who are trying to save abandoned animals. So how do you think that we can pass from this state? Because we don't like to say, I'm not a bad person. Nobody will say about them, I'm a bad guy, I don't care about anything. I see a dog, I don't care, I just want to go home and watch TV. Nobody will say that they are bad. What do you think we can do to pass from words to action?
That's a great question, because while words are powerful, words are also easy, and people tend to throw words around carelessly. And it's easy to do lip service of, yes, I love animals, but it's harder to actually do something about it. And when we live in a global human system of that can be quite oppressive at many times, yeah, a lot of people are just trying to get through their day. Like, they may care in their hearts, but they're tired. They just want to get home and watch some TV or just be with their family. And I can understand that. I do empathize with that. But action, like you said, it doesn't need to be big action. If you are listening to this podcast and you think, yes, I agree with these words, I agree with these ideas, we should do something, but what can I do? You don't have to go big. You don't have to go, the 1,000 miles to do it. Just like you said, make a call or donate. Even if it's just like donating $1. If 100 people donated $1, that's $1,000. There are 8 billion people on this planet as of last year, at the beginning of the year, or last year, I think it was. Small actions by many, many people over time turn into big movements. And that's the key. So if you feel like you want to help, one, I love you for doing so. Thank you. And just small actions. Pick up a phone, maybe donate some blankets or some canned food to help out. It's the little things that change the world. Because when you have as many, many people as we do on the world, those little things can turn into a tidal wave of change. And that's all it takes. And hopefully we can come up with the right words to help persuade you to do so. That's all we can hope for.
That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to say that I believe that words can get us there. And Alexander, there's a very interesting thing happening in Romania about your idea of donating $1. Many dog rescuers, not just one, have told me that here in Romania, for example, when it comes to help dogs or cats, the people there that are helping more and that they are donating are poor people, and wealthier people don't really involve. Have you?
I'm glad you brought this up. It's an interesting phenomenon.
Have you identified this thing in US also?
Oh, it's everywhere. And I actually talk about this a lot with friends, colleagues, family. It's an interesting phenomena that I think what it comes down to is lack of experience and hardship. Like I myself, my parents were lower middle class, which meant that when I started as an adult, I was poor because they didn't have the funds to help. So I started poor. I've actually in my early 20s spent a couple months starving in LA, just bouncing from one house to another, couch surfing because I didn't have a home. Hardship breeds empathy. It's a little Taoist philosophy in a way, where a little yin and yang. You can't have a great empathy if you've never experienced what hardship is, because you don't know what other people are going through. You yourself have no frame of reference. So when you're very wealthy and you're up in the stratosphere of billionaires, you're living a charmed life. Unless you go out of your way to experience hardship, you're probably not experiencing a lot of it. So you don't have a frame of reference for what it's like to live, just trying to get by day by day. It's fascinating, this inverse. You would think, with all these resources, you could do so much good, but you got to understand how to use that wealth, and that only comes with experience.
I was absolutely 100% sure, Alexander, that you are going to use this word empathy, because we also talk a lot about the notion of empathy in our podcast. It's something extremely important, and we definitely need more. Alexander,
I would,
yeah,
oh, if I may,
please,
on
sure.
the note of empathy, I think I've been lucky in a cosmic way that I have had significant hardship in my life, because while I have gone through pain and I've had dark days, I've had days where I wasn't sure if I was going to make it to the next one. I know what that's like. I know what that struggle's like, but it's also given me that perspective to grow empathetically. And at 32 years old now, I have such a huge reservoir of empathy for not just other humans or myself, but everything on this planet, all life. And it's actually pretty nice. I can actually, I feel so much love all the time and just a joy for life as a result of this empathy. It's great. It's wonderful. Actually, I cry at the drop of a hat now. I'm one of those where a commercial will come on and something happened and I'll just start, but it's good. I like it. It's cathartic. It's great. And you need you need hardship and growth to get that empathy. So one of my favorite things whenever I meet somebody who maybe rubs me the wrong way, my default answer to them is, I wish you nothing but positive growth. Because that's the only way. That's the only way you're going to get there.
I hope I'm not going to ask you a very difficult question. I don't want to ask a forced question, but it just came up to me now, thinking of what you've said earlier. When you see, for example, an abandoned dog on the street, do you think, do you relate, can you compare in a way your period of struggle in LA, what you've told us before? Do you feel you understand the dog better in a way from this point of view?
I've never considered it that point of view, but now that you mentioned it, yes, absolutely. I know what it's like to wander and not have a roof over your head, sleeping underneath a tree. I know what that's like. It's not a great feeling, though. There were times where it was actually a nice day and it was pretty with stars out. There are moments of joy in hardship too. You just got to have the open mind to see it. But absolutely, I know what it's like. When I was going through that, I had to make $300 last 3 months, and I only ate dollar menu McDonald's burgers for every meal for 3 months. You could play my ribs like a xylophone. It was not a great time. It was not a great time. I'm glad it was only as short as it was. There are so many who go through it for so much worse and so much longer, like the war in Russia and Ukraine. Oh my God, my heart broke so much that day, and so many days since then. Honestly, even though I've gone through that, I'm also very lucky that that's one of the worst things that I've gone through, and I haven't gone through worse than that. Frankly, I think that's enough. I don't think to then have to go through war, have your home bombed, your lives just totally up and destroyed. How is that any different than a dog or a cat who's just trying to not drown in the rain and get a scrap of food and just live? It's not. It's the same. It's maybe a little different scale, but the principle is the same.
Yes, the principle is the same, but unfortunately, many people. I'm not saying that you have to compare 100% a human and an animal, but unfortunately, many people don't realize that animals have souls actually, just like us. And unfortunately, in Romania, it also happens. We Every year we have cases when people are killing dogs, and people just don't understand that you don't have this right. I mean, even if I'm a fish keeper, an aquarium lover, even if your fish is a really tiny fish, you don't have any right to kill him. You didn't give him that life. It's not your life.
I fully agree with that. I just had my thought and it went away. Come back, thought. A big pillar of my philosophy is, by virtue of existing in this universe, you have every right to live in it. And you have no right to take that from something else. I mean, survival is one thing, but we as humans, the only reason why we have to survive day to day is because we are greedy and we torture ourselves. We are at a point technologically where none of us should ever have to. And that's we need a spiritual revolution there. But everything has the right to live just by virtue of existing. I'm a big believer of that. And we need to give the space for other species to develop and live and love and, figure things out on their own, like we have. We're still figuring it out, but I'm optimistic about things. I really am.
That's good. I'm also optimistic. Alexander, it was a very, very interesting conversation, an interesting podcast edition. I hope we can do it again. I wish you all the best.
Absolutely.
And good luck. Good luck with the podcast. We can't wait to see the first episode.
Thank you very much, Radu. Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Wonderful conversation. Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much. It was also a pleasure for me. Oameni buni, aceasta a fost așadar încă o ediție a podcastului În jurul cozii. Alexander Clayton a fost alături de noi. Rolda pregătește așadar o mare surpriză pentru toți iubitorii de animale din întreaga lume, un podcast în limba engleză. La momentul potrivit veți auzi mai multe lucruri despre el. Sunt Radu, vă mulțumesc mult că ne-ați urmărit. Aceasta a fost așadar încă o ediție a podcastului În jurul cozii, oferit de către Rolda România. Suntem pe YouTube. Apăsați acolo butonul de subscribe la canalul Rolda România. Playlistul În jurul cozii vă stă la dispoziție pentru a vedea de fiecare dată când apare un nou episod. Vă mulțumesc mult încă o dată, numai bine tuturor! Ne învârtim în jurul cozii, dar folos!